$1,299. Let me say that again for those of you over there in the cheap seats. For $1,299, you can get your grubby little paws on the newly released Canon EOS RP. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys. But seriously, I would never leave you with just that. So this is the second camera in Canon's mirrorless R range, and this time Canon is getting extremely aggressive on price, and they are going after the mainstream consumers. Now, the EOS RP has a 26.2 megapixel sensor, as we spoke about in the last video. It is roughly based on the 60 Mark II sensor, but obviously some changes had to be made to the chip to make it compatible in a mirrorless setup. If you're wondering about the P designation of the EOS RP, this harks back to the days of Canon's film cameras when Canon produced a P rangefinder way back in 1958 and 61. Now, let's get the big bugbear out of the way right up front of this video so, yeah, the trolls can have their fun and get it over and done with. The EOS RP has the same unfortunate 1.7 4K crop as the EOS R, and sadly, there is no dual pixel AF in 4K mode. When it comes to 1080 video, things get a little bit weird here. According to Jared Polin of Frono's Photo, who's actually had his hands on the camera, it only offers 1080 at 30 and 60 frames with no 24 FPS. However, everywhere else that I look and search and look at specs, etc., it says that it has 25 FPS. So I'm going to reserve my judgment on this one until I actually get my hands on the camera, which should be on Monday or Tuesday next week. And then I will let you know exactly what the story is with regards to frame rate in 1080 video. The EOS RP has got the same built-in 2.36 million dot EVF as the M50 and the M5, and has a 3-inch very angled touchscreen offering what is most probably still the best implementation of a touchscreen that any camera maker has made to date. I loved it on the 5, and I'm sure I'm going to like it on this camera as well, but once again, we will have to wait until I get my hands on the camera to see if it is as good as that. What we're looking at here is most probably the best budget mirrorless camera. And if you're wanting to get into vlogging, this is most probably going to be the camera that you're going to want to get. The EOS RP has a similar design to that of the EOS R, but it is a little bit squatter and thinner than its high-end sibling. The RP is also considerable. Hold on a second. Coffee. Sorry, it's early over here. I've been up all night waiting for the specs and stuff to come out. As I was saying, so it's smaller than the 60 Mark II, and it is even smaller than the T7i Rebel, or 800D as it's called over here. Now, more impressive is the fact that the EOS weighs just 485 grams, which is 45 grams lighter than the T7i. So that is an amazingly small, compact, light, full-frame, mirrorless camera for $1,300. It is madness. This is despite the fact that Canon has managed to use a magnesium alloy chassis here, though the exterior body parts are plastic, and equip the RP with the same level of weather sealing as the EOS 80D. One of the EOS R's strengths is obviously the advanced autofocus system. And while the 5.665 dual pixel CMOS AF system hasn't been carried across to the EOS RP, it looks like the new camera has the potential to deliver impressive autofocus performance if the specs are anything to go by. Canon has equipped the EOS RP with 4,779 selectable phase-detected AF points, with coverage matching the EOS R at 88% vertical and 100% horizontal, and a working range that goes as low as -5 EV. The EOS RP also gets Canon's IAF with continuous tracking. Now, Jared Polin did test this out, and it didn't look like it worked that well, but once again, judgment reserved until I get to physically play with the camera. Now, this is designed to track the subject's eye when in face detect mode. Personally, I never really use it on any of the cameras that I use. I tend to manual focus a lot, but we have to remember that this camera is not aimed at me and a lot of you. This is aimed at people who are buying their first camera and are looking at going into mirrorless, people who are going from a crop frame sensor up to a full frame sensor. And at this price point, I think we can live with some of the things that have been left out. Now, being an entry-level camera, I was not expecting the frame rate to be high, and it comes in at the same frame rate as the R at 5 frames per second. However, it does drop to 4 frames a second if you use continuous focus. The EOS RP uses the same battery as the EOS Rebel T7i and the M50, which is a pity. I would have liked to have seen it powered by an LPE6N, the same as my 5D4, or the same as the EOS R. It kind of makes sense that it would have the same battery, because if I was going to get into mirrorless, I'd want to buy the RP and then most probably get an R as well, or I'd buy the R and then maybe get the RP as a second body. And having to lug around 2 different batteries and 2 different chargers, especially when you're on travel trips or you're away, is a little bit of a pain in the ass. But once again, consumers, it's aimed at consumers, it's not aimed at me. I think I'm going to like it, but let's see. Anyway, the takeaway from this camera is that Canon is going after the entry-level consumer market, and it has brought out the big guns on this one. Nikon and Sony, beware. Shots have been fired. I will be back next week with a full hands-on review of the EOS RP. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.